Mario Kart World came out not long ago and I cannot stop playing it. It's fun and exciting and it allows for some serious skill expression. Wait, hang on. Skill expression? Isn't Mario Kart that, kids racing game that you play at gatherings sometimes? Yeah, there's driving, but isn't it just random fun? It's like Mario Party on wheels, right? Well, no. I was actually pretty surprised that this game had a lot more depth than I expected. And of course, we can't talk about a racing game without talking about how the cars turn and handle. You can, of course, steer, accelerate, and brake, and in Mario Kart, you can also get speed boost by doing aerial tricks or drifting around a turn. But despite these, like most other racing games, the most important thing is to drive well and take tight turns if you want to go as fast as possible. Now, all of these existed in previous incarnations of Mario Kart, but the newest game, Mario Kart World, added something huge. The ability to drive on nearly anything in the game. You can drive on rails, ropes, and even walls. And I find this super fun. These new mechanics allow for some insane shortcuts, like this. Come back! Or this. I enjoy these a lot, but not everyone does. With these kinds of crazy cuts, it feels like unless you've taken the time to memorize them all and practice them, you can't ever actually win against others, right? That's not actually quite true, for multiple reasons actually. The first is while everyone is of course doing these shortcuts in time trials, most of these strategies don't really save as much time as you might expect. And another reason is that any time you might save can easily be negated by this. No! Did I get... You're kidding me! What? Of course, Mario Kart games would not be Mario Kart without its chaotic items. There's a huge variety, ranging from a simple banana peel that you can place on the track, which can slip an enemy if they drive into it, to a bullet bill that auto-drives the track, rocketing past every enemy, to literally calling down lightning to smite your competitors. And how do you get these items? By driving through these item boxes, which will randomly give you one of them. And I think it's pretty obvious at this point that the items differ massively in power. This game is so random, so how is it possible to take it seriously? Doesn't it just depend on what items you end up getting? So while the items are random, they aren't completely random. In general, the further back you are, the more likely you are to get a powerful item. This is intended as a comeback mechanic. It makes sense because if you fall behind early on, there's always a chance of making it back. And if you're in the lead, you can't simply relax either. It keeps the entire race exciting. At least, that's the intended design. Because this can be exploited in a pretty major way, the items are just a little too strong, to the point where the best strategy to win sometimes looks like this. This is my last chance. Acceptable. This is called bagging, short for sandbagging, playing poorly on purpose, in this case driving slowly, in order to fish for one of these super strong items. The idea is you spend the early portion of the race trying to roll for these items and collecting coins, which increases your speed. And when the end of the race comes, you blow your super strong items and take a top spot. Bagging looks pretty strong, doesn't it? But that's strange. I said that Mario Kart is surprisingly deep, right? This gameplay doesn't really look all that deep or all that interesting. And Nintendo knows this to some extent because it tries to discourage it with some anti-bagging mechanics. If you do it too hard, if you're in the back, it gives you these super weak items. And even if you do get to use these good items, you have to make sure to time it properly. Use them too early and you might get passed in the end. Use them too late and you might not be able to catch up with the pack. And more importantly, it also depends on what the people around you are doing. Specifically, the items you get are largely based on how far away everyone else is, not just first place. That means if you're the only person bagging, it's super strong because everyone else is so far ahead of you. However, if everyone else does it, then the game thinks you're well within the pack, even if first place is far away. And this happens if you play with more experienced players that understands the power of bagging. So in a way, I guess you could say that this strategy is self-balancing because the more people do it, the less good it becomes. But while you can somewhat control the items you get, there are still a lot of things you can't control. For example, someone might shoot a shell at you, or you might get hit by lightning at a very unfortunate time. You could get your item stolen at the worst possible moment, and through no fault of your own, end up in last place. Though, just because there are random elements, it doesn't mean that it can't be competitive. For example, many trading card games have a healthy and thriving competitive ecosystem. But because players can't perfectly control the cards they draw, a weaker player could potentially win against a much stronger one if they get extremely lucky. And that's okay. Not every game has to be like chess. But so instead of going for a certain victory, instead the best you can do is to try to maximize your chances of it. Even the best players might get a very unlucky race from time to time. But since they continue to make the high probability play over the course of many races, they will win much more frequently than your average player. So let's say you know the fastest way around a track, and let's also say you know how to bag properly and game the item system. Is this enough to win at Mario Kart? Well, no. First of all, there is a matchmaking system that allows you to play people of your skill level. Even if you improve at the game, you'll start to be paired against better and better players. Some might be better at driving fast and understanding the shortcuts, while others might be better at item play. But the matchmaking system balances these skills out. There's also the most important part of playing Mario Kart, which is adapting to players around you. I personally find this really hard. For example, driving behind someone can give a draft boost, which is easy enough. Unless they have items, in which you shouldn't unless you're completely cracked at the game. If you're behind a person with a red shell, which hones into the person in front of them, you might not want to pass them. If there's a person with banana peels in front of you, you might not want to follow them onto a rail. You really have to pay close attention to what's going on around you if you want to win. And so I just kind of got sucked into the Mario Kart rabbit hole. I just find the game really fun. You can just jump online and play. And this worked perfectly fine. Until the 1.1.2 update. You may already know this, but the brand new thing about Mario Kart World is that it's an open world. Every track is connected, and you can drive freely behind them, and this is a really cool concept. Except, unfortunately, most of the connection routes look like this. And listen, some people enjoy them. They're a lot closer, and the items are more impactful in this format. That's exactly how the Knockout Tour mode works, in fact. But for people like me that enjoy the classic 3-lap tracks, that's not so great. And it seemed that most people in my rooms enjoyed them too, considering that the vast majority of people picked random. Before the update, if you selected random instead of the 3 tracks presented to you, you would be guaranteed a 3-lap track. But then they changed it so that they added all the connection tracks to the random pool, which led to most races being driven on them. The main problem is because there isn't really a way to get ahead of anyone easily, the pack tends to stay pretty close together. And that makes bagging very strong, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it does get a little old if you have to bag nearly every game if you want a chance of winning. So this meant the end of online play for Mario Kart. Except not really. Due to the resilient gamer spirit, even if the game itself does not let people play in the way they find the most fun, they'll find some way to do it themselves. Discord servers have cropped up with people hosting rooms just for 3-lap tracks. There's even a super sweaty, extra competitive player-made ranked mode that is, frankly, a little intimidating, so I think I'll get a little better at the game before trying that out. But still, I hope I managed to convince you that Mario Kart is actually super fun, and super skillful, and not just all random. Now, if you excuse me, I'll have to get back to racing. Too slow! Okay!